I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/VinandSori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Mm-hmm. We are at the beginning of a...
You know what it is. The alliances have grouped together, and they've brought us their picks. You know how this works? We've got tonight, apparently, we have 4 different alliances that have created this stream for us. And Sin and Glory is the first one up. This is Lost Hate's pick. Lost Hate was the winner.
I think Lost Hate is going to try his hand at being a director at some point.
A director.
Aha.
Okay. So, The Warning, Queen of the Murder Scene is the name of the song. Let's see what these comments have to say. This time, Fortune favored Lost Hate. A fresh member for S&G ranked to make his playlist, from which we voted a band that I believe by now is quite familiar to you. The winner song is the title song from The Warning's sophomore album, Queen of the Murder Scene. Murdered who? The album is a concept album, and the song is the 10th from the 13th songs.
It's the 10th from the 13th song?
I think it means like 10 out of 13.
Oh, the 10th of 13 songs. I got you.
The album is a concept album, and the song is 10th from the 13th song. 13 songs. Yeah.
I see.
Yes,
said the blind man to the deaf man.
I thought it was the blind man to his deaf wife. And then that shows
That's how me and Sharif did it.
The issues.
We just excluded you guys.
The issues between male-female relationships.
Rather it just be, you know, you guys had cooties and shit. Mess with our lives.
Cooties?
Things of that nature. But just go ahead and...
And yet, here you are!
Yet here we are!
Alright, you guys. This is what we're about to do. You guys ready for this? Are you ready for this?
Alright, this is a warning for all you new individuals who've never seen us before. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You too may be able to get your favorite band reviewed. Alright, having said that, let's go. Song number 1, Warning. Everybody knows what we're about. Queen of the Murder Scene. Sub en Espanol. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
controlled by anything but let's see you try. I'm a machine, no emotion, a perfect scene for the murder queen. You can always kill what's immortal, but it just doesn't apply to me. Give me something worth living for. My words are what make everything burn. It's not something I like to conceal. I have no mercy and I never And I don't wanna destroy ya. Open your eyes, 'cause you can't even see the fact that I just can't be controlled by anything but let's see you try. I'm a machine, no emotion, a perfect scene for the murder queen. You can't always kill what's immortal, but it just doesn't apply to me. And if you wanna destroy me, open your eyes, 'cause you can't even see the fact that I just can't be controlled by anything but let's see you try. I'm a machine, no emotion, a perfect scene for the murder queen. You can't always kill what's immortal, but it just doesn't apply to me. It just doesn't apply to me.
They wreck shop every single time.
Every time.
This was a fun one. Okay,
And
so
Shorty
this,
has such a distinct voice,
she
man.
does that sort of raspy sound
Yeah,
to it.
yeah, it
She's
sounds so much
really,
older.
Really, really good.
Sounds so much older than that. It's
Mm-hmm.
incredible.
Yeah, and it almost kind of has like an '80s feel to it. In
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So this is interesting because is she the one that writes the lyrics?
I think they all kind of write them together.
Oh, okay. So like one of our kids is an author, and whenever she writes something, I'm always like, because every time that there's characters, they're gonna write from their own perspective, and so like, oh, here's a dad character. Let me see. That's actually the story that she's writing. I'm not sure if you know this, but she loves writing about the dad character right now. Did you know that?
No.
Yep, she's all about writing about the dad character. She said that's a favorite character for her to write about. And then anyway, so it's just interesting to hear like her like breakdowns of these different characters. So this is gonna sound maybe a little bit too much of a stretch. I don't know. But when we were hearing her talk previously in that documentary that Frankel made, actually that documentary is going to be coming out soon. We're trying to get the warning to whitelist us. Help us. But yeah, once that gets taken care of, then we're going to release a bunch of the warning streams for you guys to watch. But anyway, remember when she was talking about like almost like the difficulties of being in the scene that she's in?
Yeah, the price.
Yeah, the price. Yeah,
She's
that it
always
costs.
talking about the price they have to pay.
Yeah. And so I understand that this is a concept album, and this is probably like one piece of a giant 13-song journey. But still, what this character is expressing is interesting, given like the way that she was feeling in that documentary, And like, I don't know if you could stay in that place that she was describing herself to be for a certain amount of time before you'd end up like kind of like making a decision. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm crossing over completely. I know there's a price to be paid, but I'm going all in on this thing, the music thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So when she talks, like she starts it out, you don't really want to be like me, a false pretension of being complete. You don't really want to understand, and it's what it's like to have blood on your hands. The character in this story seems to be describing like they've done things already, like it's already over with, but they don't want people to necessarily follow them in the path that they've taken. I'm a machine, no emotion, a perfect scene for the murder queen. You can always kill what's immortal, but it just doesn't apply to me. So there was like this character had a sort of arrogance about them.
Yeah.
That, you know, whatever, they were getting away with murder. I mean, that's the phrase, right? They could get away with murder. And like this person literally is getting away with murder. And they're saying like nothing applies to them. I mean, I wouldn't say I got away with murder, but I definitely like, do you remember like feeling like, the rules really don't apply over here?
What do you mean?
Just like, I mean, from anything, like how fast or slow you drive your car to, you know, like when you're in, okay, like I remember being at a certain point in my life.
Specifically?
Just like both of us, like at our different points in our life. Like
not
I remember
feeling that the rules apply to you.
Yeah. And so like here's a giant line, and like you realize that, wait a minute, there's like 50 people in these lines, but there's a customer service desk and I know they can bring up my groceries over there. So you like beeline it over there, and the person's like, but then they know like, but you can ring them up here, and you kind of like push a little bit, and then you get what you want. And those things happen to you enough times where you just start feeling like, you know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And I know you were the same way in a different context. I mean, it's not like you were like this perfectly, you know, rule following individual. I
always looked at the rules as like
suggestions, friendly ones.
They were logical, they made sense. And I always thought of the rules as like, you need rules for society to function.
Yeah, I felt like they were for everybody else.
As long as like the 99% were doing that, then my 1% deviation
what does it matter?
would not bother anything. And for the most part, it worked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you to all you 99% of people that follow the rules that way.
Yeah, anytime I see like a whole, like the majority is doing that, and then like it if you just think outside the box, you can figure out another way. You're like, oh.
Well, there's a passage in the Bible in Deuteronomy where Moses says, and now what else am I telling you or commanding you other than what's for your own good? So that became my paradigm. Like, if your rule works out for my own good, then I'll listen to it. And if it doesn't work out for my own good, then they're malleable.
Now I'm starting to figure out what's been going on in our family.
That's pretty much it.
I'm like, so you just did what you wanted then? You fuck mom.
No, it's not. I did what I wanted. No. It was just saying like, okay, why do we have this rule? And if the rule was like, oh, it's a safety thing, it's like, okay, well, I'll make sure nobody gets hurt. See what I'm saying?
I think my calculation was there were so many rules growing up, and you got caught for any of them that you didn't follow. And the price is just so heavy all the time, you didn't want to pay it. But then you started realizing, like, hold on a minute. Outside of my parents' house, though, I mean, what leverage do these people really have?
Well, my mom would, bless God, Angel Hernandez has retired. Thank God. Good riddance. God, that's a different discussion.
God. Yeah, I was thinking about doing a compilation of like all of Vin's meltdowns. I think it would be like 20 minutes of just him going off. So if you actually have, maybe I should start a whole like email.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I'm gonna create an email address specifically for Vin's meltdowns, and you guys can send me the links.
From yesterday? Is that the one?
The one I was editing today. Yeah, I was like, what?
You know. All right.
That's so intense, so fast.
You really don't want to be like me. See, this was a big theme with theirs. It's like, it's not all what it meets the eye. You see what I'm saying?
That's what I was saying. Like, that was there, but then I understand there's still a storyline that's going on here. But the characters are formulated by the people, and so.
Well, yeah, you know, like, that's the entire thing. I think it was like Tolkien or something like that.
She said, "You don't deserve the throne. The crown is mine."
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm wondering if like that's her or if that is people in the industry who know what they're about to do and want to jump on, tell them that they don't really deserve it because they're whatever. You guys are young, you're pretty, so that's why they're giving it to you, instead of the fact that
you're talented.
They have an extremely distinct sound, and it's driven mostly by the vocalizations of these three girls. I mean, it's their style. I'm sure they've had people help them, but it's their style that they've developed. You see what I'm saying? And I do think, like, there are these themes of not only in the if you guys haven't seen, have we published a documentary yet?
No, you told me to hold off.
Okay, we've got a mini documentary from one of our own that that really gives insight into the personal lives as artists. So you don't like get into like the weeds of like their real personal life, but how it's affecting them.
Yeah, you see
as
them touring
artists.
around and.
Yeah, because you watch them and they've got the guitar at the beginning, and the guitar is bigger than them, like because they're the little girls playing. So yeah, it's a very fascinating show to watch, but that gives me a lot of paradigm for a lot of the music that you see here. You don't really want to be like me, a false pretense of being complete. I've said that a bunch of times to people and people roll their eyes. I think probably it's better to have whatever and then say it's not what you think it is versus not having it at all. Now you just have a complete fantasy of what it actually is. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference. So like, we had a guy and he was like extremely jealous of another guy at the church, and the guy was a charismatic figure, blah blah blah, and like, dude was constantly saying like, I promise you do not want this kind of like life. You really don't. You can't even go to Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Without
like,
somebody.
I wish.
Yeah.
I wish I would go to Walmart and get mobbed. That's the thing, like, some of it is the grass is always greener on the other side, but some of it is just not understanding the toll that it takes to be whoever the people are and to have that taken from them. Everybody looks at the rock star and it's like, oh, that's so cool. I mean, I actually don't look at that because I wouldn't want to be mobbed like that. That to me actually is really like stressful. Claustrophobic, yeah. But I understand that I think that we're like more anomalies in that. I think that there's a lot of people that would love to have that opportunity and fantasize about having that opportunity to be like on a stage and having everybody. When I see like an artist on a stage and then commanding the whole crowd, there's a part of me that's, I don't know, I always feel like weird about it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I do know why. Because I feel like it's a fine line between because people are made in the image and likeness of God. So the scripture talks about us being gods, but not God as in like Elohim, like the highest God. And so I think that when people are in a situation like that, I don't know, because I've never been even close to having that situation happen to me. So I don't know what it would be like, but I would assume that when you're there and everybody is like the roar of the crowd and everything is going off, like, is it hard to keep yourself separate from the divine and realize that you are still human, and that the qualities and reasons why people are drawn to you is because you're made in the image and likeness of God, and there's something about God that these people find very accessible. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's easy to just be like, it's me. Me. I don't know. Like, maybe it's easy to not do that. Maybe, maybe for like these girls, the where she's talking about the price, like maybe the price is so much there that you're like, this is definitely not like what you were describing with the other guy that was getting all the accolades, and he was like, I wish I could get less of this. Like, I don't know, because I'm not them. Like, so
apparently in this is a concept record. She kills some dude she had a crush on.
Oh,
that's what Alan is saying. And then the last half of this album is her fighting herself to cope with what she has done.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a very interesting way to look at it, because you asked yourself, like, why would you kill your love interest? How old are these girls? 15, 16 years old? That's pretty advanced to write lyrics like that about like somebody killing their crush and then dealing with the ramifications of it. Can you imagine writing a record like that at 16 years old?
No.
That's pretty hectic. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's a story of schizophrenia.
Really?
I mean, this thing continues to develop. I mean, if these girls are writing about a schizophrenic episode from their second record, like that's incredible to me. If that's what's happening, I mean, holy hell, that's pretty ambitious. Subhanallah.
Well, I mean, I did think when it said what it's like to have blood on your hands, I was surprised at the honesty of that line, because it kind of reminded me of, oh shit, you know, and he never did stop washing his hands.
Yeah.
What was that?
Hamlet.
You would never have known by the way I just said it. This is why I love that you know what I'm saying. Okay, yeah, Hamlet. What was the name of that? Yeah, that. And anyway, the guy had blood on his hands, and he always would like just keep washing his hands continuously.
His wife. His wife that was doing it.
Oh, it was the wife.
That was the one where we saw with Denzel Washington. Yeah, that wasn't Hamlet. I forgot which one that was. But
it was with the three witches.
Yeah, with three faces, and he murdered King Duncan because
Yeah.
he wanted the. Yeah, that wasn't Hamlet. I forgot what it was. But yeah, go ahead. It was a Shakespearean classic. Oregon is saying it's Hamlet. Was it
I
Hamlet?
remember it being called Hamlet. I thought it had a better name than
I
that.
thought Hamlet was about the
Lady
the kid.
Macbeth. Yeah.
Macbeth. Yeah, Macbeth. Macbeth. Yeah. But that wasn't the name of the. Was it? I think it was Macbeth.
I thought it was
Macbeth.
Macbeth.
Is the name
I
of
thought
it.
it was
Yeah. Hamlet was a different. Hamlet was a different one.
I'm gonna fill you in. This is his wedding ring. Orion got it, threw it across the bathroom, broke it. It's like literally, it's all cracked, so it hurts to wear. Then this coin, it says it's from Jamaica. It was actually a keychain, and obviously he's from Jamaica, and a good friend of his gave that to him. This is a little, it's a tiny.
Why are we doing this?
Because Dwayne asked. And this is Mary. This is Mary, the Blessed Mother. But this is what do you call that thing? It measures, it's 12 inches. A ruler. Yeah, and it says Dad on it, which the Bible is like the ruler, and he's gives direction to our family, and so that's what all those things are. There's lots of them. Anyway, so yeah, I was surprised at that line, like what it's like to have blood on your hands, because, you know, there was this sort of like, you know, when she would say stuff like, it doesn't apply to me, or, you know, like stuff like that. It was like sort of like pushing off responsibility, maybe not taking something as seriously as it should be, who knows, you know. But then when we're talking about the blood on the hands thing, it sounds like you don't know what it's like to have blood on your hands, as in it is a heavy weight to bear, which surprised me. I mean, I've you know, you are always listening to those, you know, the Sean Ryan show, and so it's all these guys, you know, military guys and all kinds of different situations where you'll hear their stories and stuff, and it's actually pretty interesting to listen to. But when you hear those people, like, you can tell some of them, like, they have like this weight on them for it, and then other ones, some of them will say they don't care, and then as they continue talking, you realize they actually care so much that now they're trying to. Anyway, so it reminded me of that. I thought of that, and I thought, wow, how does this girl know that? The weight of, you know, to have that, like, to have the attitude of, oh, it wasn't, you know, it doesn't apply to me, while at the same time saying you don't really understand what it's like to have blood on your hands. Yeah, I mean, that's those are some complex. Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, in the documentary you see that they've been doing this since really, really small. Yeah. So when she talks about being incomplete, like, there are things that are just part of normal development that they don't have because they've been doing this the whole time. And, you know, it's not necessarily about complaining. It's just about, you know, look, this is a life that you have. And, you know, and a lot of times, like, especially with my daughter, when I see her working, I mean, there are clear correlations between what's going on in her life and the characters that it's almost like she's working things out psychologically through these characters and things like that. And so, like, yeah, it's a concept record. Somebody ends up dying, blood on your hands, all that stuff. I don't think that they're talking about real events, as it were, but I do think that all of that situation, she is going through that in her own version of things. Yeah. And sometimes, like, a death is such an extreme thing that it evokes a certain kind of emotion. And so, like,
it's a very, very creative way of working through your issues of trying to tackle with the life that they have. Plus, real basic things like, what do they do if they have a crush on a boy? That's a very interesting, like, because they're from the warning or whatever.
Yeah.
That's outsiders, but to them, they're just doing what they love to do, which is play music. So how does that work? How does attraction work in that situation? Like, you see the guy and then, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of them, like, they'll have to date kind of within the industry, and it's not necessarily a status thing. It's just it's a lifestyle thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, if you want to like really psychoanalyze something, like you can look at like, she's got this crush and then she ends up killing the crush. Why does she do that? And is it this whole, I can't have a boyfriend at this point type of situation, like, because we saw with the Selena movie.
Oh wow, babe!
Because we saw with the Selena movie, right? It was a backup. That it was the lead guitarist or whatever, and they fell in love with each other, and like the dad was against it because it's like, you've got too much, you got too much going on right now, and I get it, especially like, if a dude gets a girl pregnant on the road, it's like, oh, she's gonna kill you for child support, blah 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 blah. These girls end up pregnant on the road. It could really hurt their career.
Yeah.
Right? And like how that goes when those kinds of things are pushed to the limit. So it's a very interesting thought process. Like, maybe at this point they feel like we're on our come up, and any kind of relationship would just impede that, and so we've got this mindset where it's like, can't be around the boys at all, that type of thing. So I mean, I don't know.
Or maybe she started to fall for somebody, but she had to murder him in her heart so she could move forward.
Right.
Is that what you're basically saying?
Yeah. Like, hey, what's up, Myron? Yeah, and that's kind of the idea. It's like, it's such a difficult thing to navigate that she ends up having to kill him because she's not a complete person because she can't have a regular boyfriend, like, like whatever.
Oh,
but
that's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to find somebody in that situation too, because like you said, I mean, you're the warning. Unless if you're outside of your bracket. I mean, I don't know how many people, maybe they're popular everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Lean heavy on your family to help you vet.
Yeah, I mean, relationships are just so difficult and complex, to work through, and it must be even worse, at that age. They're so hard because there's a lot of communications, a lot of shit you have to do as to make a relationship work. A perfect scene for the murder queen. You can always kill what's immortal, but it doesn't just apply to me. Yeah, I really like the song. I do think they're working some stuff out there. I think they're really, really smart songwriters. Every single time I hear something from this band, I feel I'm so impressed. Like, I'm blown away with what they can do. And it's like, you hear a lot of things, especially like being friends with these artists or whatever, you hear a lot of bad things about the music industry. Like the behind the scenes stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm just glad that they're being able to do that together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, as a band. And like, it doesn't always have to destroy you. Like, Destiny's Child, they were 15, 16 when they got their break. They're going around touring all this stuff.
Yeah.
That was a group Beyonce was in before she kind of went off by herself. And for the most part, I mean, there was drama within because, Beyonce's dad felt like she was the main star, and so there was a lot of, but he ended up being right. You know what I'm saying? So, like, but they, for the most part, were able to stay together. They didn't have a giant falling out. They did, Beyonce just went off and did her thing. And it was, you know what I'm saying? Okay. It was okay. It was cool. So my point is, it doesn't necessarily have to turn bad for this group. Like, they've got a lot of things in their corner. One of the things in their corner is that they're related, and they're all pretty powerful. So I'm just hoping really good stuff for this band, man, and I hope it continues because, like, the scene needs bands like this.
The other thing too is,
like, girls need to see stuff like this. No disrespect to anybody, any female performer, blah 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 blah. Sensuality is cool. It's part of the human experience. But I think that the music industry is inundated with women projecting sensuality, and there's not a lot of like, these women are being celebrated for this vocal range or this what they can do on the guitar or whatever. I think it's important to show girls, hey, you can really just get to the top of your craft in something, and you can be respected and honored just for that, full stop. I think that's a really important message.
Yep. Yeah, and it's cool to see that they're because obviously sexuality sells, and it sells more quickly. So they could do that to fast track their career and stuff, but it seems like, you know, they respect themselves also in a different way, and they're going about it differently. I don't know. I respect them also. I think that it's really cool what they're doing, and I love that they're doing it together because there was this one time, it reminds me, my sister and I were in this parking lot, we were hanging out with this guy, and he was part of our youth group, so, you know, you would have thought that he was, you know, relatively safe. Anyway, he started doing something sideways, and I froze. I didn't know what to do, and I was like just standing there, and my sister was like, "Sorry?" She looked at my face. She was like, "Get in the car. Get in the car right now." And so I was like, okay, I got in the car, and then we drove. She's like, "What the frig was going on over there?" And so then I started explaining to her what had happened, but I was so glad that she yanked me out of that situation. My sister didn't do like a lot of those big sister things, but that one was a pretty cool one. So it reminds me, like, here they are, they're all these sisters. We know what the music industry is, what those sorts of things are. And sometimes girls can be in a lot more, you know, danger for different things happening to them based on where they are and what they're doing. So it's cool that the sisters are together, and if they can keep it tight like that without letting the jealousies and stuff that naturally tears people apart from each other, if they can keep those things to the side, like, and protect each other, and like just go as far as they can with this, and just love each other through the process, and you know, celebrate each other where each other has their strengths, and they're gonna have they can't do it forever, right? Like, eventually they're gonna be like, you know what, maybe I want to have a family, maybe I want to have some kids, maybe I'm not gonna tour all the time anymore. But right now, in this span of time, while it's going on for however long they want it to go on for, like, enjoy the hell out of that. You guys have each other, and it's a beautiful thing what they're doing, what you guys are doing.
It's a crazy band.
Whoever's watching, yeah.
It's a crazy band.
So
9.5 for me.
Yeah, we love every time the warning pops up on our on our list. You gave this one a what? 9.1?
9.5. 95.
9.6 for me. 9.6.
There you are, dear listener. We've got another band coming up on the other side of the break.
We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. Like, share, comment, subscribe. We out of here. Vid out.
Sorry, out.
Gone. We'll be back in 2 minutes after this wonderful commercial break. We got to pay some bills. I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/VinandSori. There's 100 connection, friendship, that type of thing. But,
and it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song and be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed at Chasalitam.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener.
Alliance stream going on. You guys know what it is.
Yeah,
join Patreon for at minimum of $1 a month. And you can join up with the alliances and help influence our song list.
Yeah, we're back in time here. Look. We're going to wait for the bit rate to show up.
It will come. It will come.
1 more week.
All right. Oh, just wait.
Huh?
Do we want to wait until it catches? It's so weird. Did we get there yet?
It's back. It's back.
We've caught up with ourselves. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Rock of Ages, Archeros, our picks winner.
Timestamp.
Yeah, let me get that right now.
It should be back. It should be back by now. Don't worry, dear listener. We are all in. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
What's going on?
I'm updating this right now.
What are you updating? What do you mean?
You said to put the timestamp.
Oh.
What is the timestamp? 38.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll finish that up. All right. Rock of Ages, Archeros, our picks winner. Christian Mistress, Neon. All right, this is the Alliance Rock of Ages, whose leader is Misery Biz. Big homie Archero got lucky this time in the drawing, and he got to make his Our Picks playlist, from which we voted.
You know, that Archero wins a lot.
I've noticed that as well.
You win a lot, Archero.
Either the man is really lucky,
Uh-huh.
or...
Uh-huh.
Big homie Archero got lucky this time in the drawing, and he got to make his Our Picks playlist, from which we voted heavy metal, occult rock band Christian Mistress with their song Neon from their third album, To Your Death.
To Your Death.
As with ROA's tradition, we'll let the playlist maker to commit on the winner song and why they chose the song. Comment, sorry. We'll let the playlist maker comment on the winner's song and why they chose the song on their playlist. Here is Archero's comment. I was introduced to Christian Mistress many years ago by a metal podcast called The Metalcast, which sadly is no longer around. They play a straightforward style of hard rock and traditional heavy metal, but what has always drawn my attention is Christine Davis' smoky-sounding vocals. I once played a song from this band in the Discord Music Lounge, and I think Neil summed them up perfectly when he described the band as all attitude.
All
attitude. All right, you guys,
well,
let's check it out.
We'll be the judge of that, dear listener.
Let's listen to these smoky vocals.
I was looking at somebody in the comment section like, who are you to judge their songs? I'm like,
This is reaction
it's
channel.
literally what we do. It's literally
Who
the job description.
Oh,
like,
man.
You guys like, you don't even play an instrument. I'm like, well, I mean, that's kind of true. But
it's not.
I own a guitar.
He
You know what
does
I'm
play.
saying? And I try to play it.
He
but,
does play very well.
I mean,
I have vocal cords.
Shout out to all the people that were mad at us for doing our jobs. I mean, it is kind of bullshit.
Shout out to you.
It is kind of bullshit that this is what we do.
Yeah, listen, some people just get lucky. This is fun. We love what we do.
Yeah.
We love hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
Judging music.
Yeah, homeboy was really angry at us. Like, I said, would you feel this way if I gave it a positive judgment? He said, of course not.
Well, at least he was honest. Oh, man.
Archero's always doing shit that he thinks he's slick. There's been so many times I'm like, Archero, you son of a bitch.
Archero.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't share his secrets, I think he'll be fine. All right, here we go.
Let's go. Let's check it out. We wait for the dawn.
We wait for the dawn. But it's Christian Woman or something like that, right? Isn't that the name of the song?
No, the name of the song is
Mistress.
Neon. Christian Mistress
Okay,
is the name of the band.
Christian Mistress is the name of the band. Neon is the name of the song. Let's check it out.
Released in 2015.
Released in 2015. They got a retro style, man.
Yeah, they do.
That vocal style is a little bit retro, a little bit 80s now.
100%. I love it.
Anytime I hear the 80s, I'm like, damn, like, they had some really cool music, man.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was cool. It was just a little too, a little bit too flashy. All right.
I loved it flashy.
Well, that's why people don't do 80s music anymore. It's because of you.
To me.
All right. What do you got there, Missy? What do you got? Later, Jack.
It had a... Good night. Yeah, I mean, the theme, I think, was overall sort of like, it kind of sounded like teenager-ish, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care anymore. I don't want to hear it. But, okay, so it starts out, we wait for the dawn, can't escape the knife of the neon lights burning out the stars. No one can see who we are, just a teenage dream looking for a scene and falling apart. So, it kind of, that part reminded me of, like, when you think neon lights, you think, club scene, I guess bars, like, different stuff that's going on at night.
This reminded me of New York.
New York, yeah, that was...
Because,
down in... Shit, it's
14th Street.
Brighter than neons.
I was out there. We were out there. We out here. 14th, the Village. Greenwich Village. Where all the Stonewall shit happened. Like, those were our people. Those were our people from like way back in the day. Like, we were hanging out with the freaks. Back in 2000 in this bitch. That's what's so funny. It's like, you don't know anything about LGBT. I'm like, you better shut the hell up. I walk them streets, bitch. What are you talking about? But no, like, that definitely described us, right? Like, can't escape the knife of the neon lights burning out the stars. No one can see who we are. Just a teenage dream looking for a scene and falling apart.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, we were looking for a scene, and that's what's a lot of what's going on right now with a lot of these political issues.
Okay.
I'm gonna say something really, really controversial here, but like, when you're hitting that high school age and you're really trying to separate yourself because you've got identity issues, you're like, okay, I believe this, I think this way because my parents told me to think this way. Then you go, your teachers, like, after a while you start thinking like all these authority figures are telling me what to think. So then you start questioning like, what are actually my thoughts? What do I believe in? What do I want to do? And that's when you start experimenting and doing a lot of, So I was in the Bronx and I'm like, okay, I'm in the Bronx, New York, literally the mecca of rap, like literally like hip hop, like the shit that we were doing, the slang that we were using, we started seeing on MTV. People were using we get white people in suburbs using terminology that originated on Allerton Avenue. Like, so like you had this entire identity, like, yo, like we're hip hop, we're the mecca, we're the, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be like y'all though. And so like, I started painting my nails, Marilyn Manson on my book bag, all types of shit, rocking corn shirts, because I'm like, I'm trying to eke out like some separate kind of identity from everybody over here, like something I did not inherit from, whatever. And like, that is a lot of what's going on right now. The problem of what's going on right now is you got people going, I was allowed to do that. I was allowed to do the whole, he's painting his nails, blah, blah, blah. People left me, as far as like my household, like nobody went crazy. Nobody was like, yo, why are you wearing nail polish? Like they would look at it like, this kid's a freak, but nobody would say anything to me. You see what I'm saying? And that was smart, because if they did, I probably would have went outside with lipstick and shit on. You know how I am, you know what I'm saying? So, but like, I'm trying to eke out my own little kind of identity and personality. And I think that's a lot of what's happening now. It's like, if you identify yourself with LGBTQIA, whatever, you're automatically like in some sort of special class. I'm saying get away from the political side of it and just think about psychologically. Like, it's a way for you to kind of eke out your own existence. You can define yourself for who you are. It gets, obviously as a parent, we're gonna say, it's getting out of hand. But I remember as a kid, like, of course, like if being LGBTQ meant what it means now back in the day, I probably would have, because it was a way for me to be like, yo, I'm not like you guys. Like, I'm different. I get to define all this shit differently. I remember like, you know, I remember saying, I hate the name Vincent. Like, nobody has the name Vincent. And then finally somebody's like, well, you could use another name and nobody will even know. They'll think that that's your name. And so, like, I remember that conversation, and it was weird because it was like a 40-something lady telling me this when I was like 18, 19. And I was like, oh, yeah. And so, like, I started playing around with my name and all this, you know what I'm saying? To the point now, you got people think they know my real name. They don't, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, those are the kind of things where it's like, this song made me remember that. It made me remember, like, do you remember what it was like when you were pushing all these boundaries because you were trying to eke out your own sort of personality, you know? At the time, I thought Marilyn Manson was as dark as you could go. So I was listening to this. I would, like, purposely make myself listen to Marilyn Manson because I was like, I am, you know, I'm not like these idiots over here listening to Jay-Z. I'm listening to Marilyn Manson, you know, dark shit. Go ahead. What were you thinking?
I'm just listening to it. I mean, I can see what you're saying. I mean, I think, you know, I didn't have the same experience as you, so I didn't have that whole, like, teenage rebellion thing or, like, trying to be different. I already was different because I was living my Christianity, like, out there in your face all the time. And because, you know, the way that I was taught, it was like, look, you're responsible for everybody that comes into your vicinity. And if any one of those people don't know who Jesus is and they die and they go to hell, like, that blood is on your hands.
Oh, my God.
And, like, literally that is how I felt all my life, like, from being very young. And so, you know, I would prosecute all of my friendships that way. Like, everything was about, like, I was always trying to position myself to get people out of hell. But you can't actually have, like, real genuine and deep friendships that way, because I think people can kind of see that there's a goal other than the friendship. Even though the friendship was important to me, the goal of keeping them out of hell was, like, a bigger thing to me. So I didn't really have that experience as a teenager. But yeah, I can see that, like, can't escape the knife of the neon lights burning out the stars. That line was kind of interesting because I guess what that line means to me is, like, the neon lights were burning out the stars. The stars are, you know, when you think of it's so interesting because when you have a deeper understanding of science, it does change the way that you look at things, and then it's deeper than what other people might see. Because they, you know, if you don't know the topic, so let's just go by, like, what most people view the physical world as, like, the primary substance or the most important, or however you want to look at it. Fundamental, yeah. And so when we're talking about the neon lights could sort of represent, like, this world, like you said, where you're trying to find yourself, you're trying to find other people, you're trying to make connections with people, you know, people have goals, same goals as you, maybe different goals, whatever, and everybody's kind of going out. And I remember seeing, like, so I was introduced to the idea of people, you know, drinking or anything like that as being, like, bad, just 100% bad. There's no way that can be good at all. And then when I got my job, I would see people go through the weekend, like, they would be, like, super pumped for the weekend. Oh, the weekend's here, yeah, oh, the weekend. And then she'd go out, and then Monday would roll around, she'd be a friggin' wreck, a crab. And then you'd find out that, you know, like, she'd start bragging about it, you know, how she got some guy, whatever. And like, I was, like, thinking to myself, like, does she not realize that, like, every week we're hearing the same thing from her? That it's like, she's a crab at the beginning of the week. Then as the weekend comes, she's like, yeah, the weekend. Yeah, I'm going to hit it up at the weekend. And then she'd go give herself to whoever was available to her. And then she'd come back miserable as fuck because she had given everything away over the weekend. And she really had nothing that she was really building. So when they talk about you can't escape the knife of the neon lights burning out the stars, like, there's something about, like, getting into the fundamental atmosphere, or this, you know, this is how I see, like, getting out there under the actual stars, or getting out there and having, like, real experiences with people that are not these sort of, like, fake engagements that we get. Like, there's something different about sitting around a campfire with people that you, that are your friends, and people are talking about real stuff, and you're you know, like those times that we would all dig into the Bible and stuff, like those times are so friggin' amazing, and they're so real compared to the times, you know, under the neon lights. But
well, the neon lights juxtaposed to burning out the stars is interesting, because one of them is God-made light, the other's man-made light, right? Or you could say nature-made light versus artificial. You know, whatever paradigm you want to have, because you want to, it's questionable whether there's a God or not. Okay, so nature-made light versus neon light, which, you know, it's one of those things where neon is kind of like this exaggerated form of a color. It's almost like a kid being unable to color in lines because your mind is so simplistic that, you know, so it's like, ooh, green, and then you make it like this over exaggerated form of green, and it's like, look what we can do. And it's like, yeah, there's a sort of like precision and symmetry to the way everything is, that when we try to replicate it, it makes it look big and clumsy. Like, so for example, a heart. Like, if you look at a human heart, like, it's a biological machine, quite literally. I mean, it's literally a pump made of, you know, biomaterial. It's insane. And so then when we come together and we go, oh, this guy's got a bad heart disease, #1 killer in the world. This guy's got a terrible heart. Let's make one. And when we try to make one, it's just big, clumsy, you know, whatever. And so, like, there's this whole, like, dichotomy between, you know, human beings trying to replicate these amazing feats of nature. You know what I'm saying? And we and so, like, that distinction to me was really, really interesting, is that neon lights carry no subtlety at all. There's no subtlety with the light. There's no and there is a sense in which, like, if you pull away from it, it looks beautiful for a while, but then, like, when you get into the middle of it, after a while it just becomes oppressive. It's like, okay, you know what I'm saying?
If you sit underneath the stars, like, I don't know, for me, it really doesn't matter what type of mood I'm in. The stars are always going to calm me.
Right. And there's a subtlety about them. You know what I'm saying?
And there's, like, the neon is like, it's all bright. It's like, look at me, I'm amazing. But the stars are like, we're just going to stay with, like, this white glow. And they're amazing.
Yeah, that's one of those time periods. Like this, looking at these lyrics, like, it was a very specific year for me in school that this reminds me of. And it was, that was a difficult time, man. Holy hell.
Yeah.
9.3 for me.
9.8. I loved this one. I loved her voice.
Yeah,
I totally understood what you guys were saying by her smoky vocals and stuff.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite female voice. Is the smoky vocal. I think it works so good with rock and roll. It's so good.
Yep.
All right, guys. We will see you on the other side of the break. We got a commercial break. We'll be right back with our voice. I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/VinandSori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch. But 32
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch. So wait a minute.
Go ahead.
You're right on. All right.
Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we have A99 post-rock poll winner Treebeard Terra. The winner of A99's post-rock poll, submitted by Misery Biz, is the track Terra by the Australian post-rock band Treebeard, one of the leading tracks off the 2021 album titled Nostalgia. This is an excellent example of the lush soundscapes that the genre offers, and as a typical post-rock song, this one's long and instrumental. Settle in and vibe out.
All right, guys, here we go. This is Treebeard for who? Misery
Biz.
Man, Misery and Archero win a lot of these little thingamajiggies.
Everybody's just getting lucky.
I'm gonna have to be in one of these guys' thingamajiggies when they get here. Also, Archero, who submitted this one?
This one is Misery Biz, and the leader of that group is Negative Vibes. Wake up.
All right. Yeah, look, middle left is like sketchy.
Yeah.
Sketchy.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming on to this.
Yeah, listen, this we learned from 2020. Oh, fake voting and shit.
All right.
Definitely has something to do with the Russians.
Yep. I believe this is a local band. Also.
We block everyone else from participating. Well, that's a way to do it. Here we go. Terra!
I actually have heard like multiple people come and be like, it's really hard to get into these alliances. I don't understand. I'm like, oh no. Now wait a minute.
Yeah. We gotta pull up one of these alliance meetings pretty soon.
Yep.
Middle Earth, hear me! Set up an alliance meeting, sir.
Hear
All right.
us!
Here we go. Terra, let's do it. Timestamp. awesome. I
love
really
that
like
one.
that song.
Holy shit.
I really, really like that song, dear listener.
You know what it made me think of? So I have these weird thoughts.
Demons!
Ooh, look at my teeth.
Demons! She turned me to a demon!
Okay, so I think a lot of times I think about like our human bodies as almost like little spaceships. And that we're inside of them, and you know, you get either really good at expression as you age, or like you get really good at like hiding yourself and like burying yourself deeper within yourself so people can't really know you or know what's going on with you. But I feel like that human beings, because we're made to know God, and God is so vast, that there are so many untapped parts about ourselves that you access, one, through the connection with the divine, but also when you come in contact or face to face with things that are divine-like. So if we're made in the image and likeness of God, then, you know, whoever created this music created something that was like, okay, basically, long story short, I feel like different parts of our soul get killed or deadened over time, and that sometimes music has a way of like reaching in and touching that spot that was like kind of deadened, and it's like, remember to let this live. And this song was like that for me. Like there was a part that like when I was hearing it, I just felt like something was like coming alive. I was like, oh, that's right, there's this also part of my soul that can enjoy this music. So I really, really enjoyed it. It was beautiful. I felt like I was like friggin' traveling through space. Like, you know how some of those visuals that we get with the planets and the different stuff coming by, like it sounded like that. It was just, it took you somewhere. I mean, I don't know.
It's so interesting to me. I was having a debate with one of those atheists, and it's so interesting to me that order is a prerequisite for beauty.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, I said, why is that? If chaos and disorder is the ultimate principle in the universe, because you're saying that there's no intelligence that's superintending the universe.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Then why is it we only love things that are ordered in a certain way? In other words, if we would have played this song and just went, so like we had the same title, but I turned all the gain and distortion and everything up to 10 and just went, and then called it this song, like you wouldn't say that, right?
Nope.
Like,
nope.
The song is identified by the specific order in which the notes are played in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, order is a prerequisite for happiness. Like, just, you know, what's his face? The Celtics just beat the Pacers. Sorry, guys. But somebody hit a game-winning 3.
Spoiler.
And it's like the game would not be fun if there were no rules, if there were no objective rules and objective lines. The game wouldn't be fun. So I'm listening to this song and I'm like, this is such a crazy song, and it's taken me so many different places. And I love the fact that the atmosphere in this little world was black and white, because it really took me someplace like it's kind of like, you know, that scientific stuff we're looking at, none of these colors really exist. Mm-hmm. And so like when you even the black and white, the gray kind of color is still a color. Yeah. But it kind of gave me this kind of feel of like, this is the original. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Before all this stuff got painted onto our consciousness, this is how everything really, really looks, you know? Mm-hmm. But it's like the whether it's a drawing, whether it's a portrait, whether it's something musical, order is almost, it's a necessary component. But at the same time, we say that the universe is completely disordered in the ultimate sense. I just think it's crazy. It's crazy to me. It's like nobody would look at these like, for example, if we did a song like this, if we had a band, we did a song like this, and people said, how'd you come up with that? And I go, it just randomly, we're just playing notes, man. And you know, there's
plugged it in.
There's 5 or 6 different, you know,
and you went like this on the fretboard.
And I went like this.
And there it was.
And like, boom, like you wouldn't. And it's crazy because what happens in this context is like when people hear a song that they like, they say, "Who is that band?" Right? They say, "Who is that?" And the reason is A, they want to be able to listen to that song whenever they want to, and B, they're thinking, "Well, shit, if this band did this, maybe they could do something else." You see what I'm saying? So like when I look at everything that's going on, I'm like, yo, who did this? like a rose or like your circulatory system or whatever. Like we talked about the heart before. It's like, who came up with this idea, this bio machine, and called the heart, or mitochondria that has like literal engines and shit that you can see like in your vehicle? It's so crazy to me, like that we're looking at so much beauty that is hitting parts of us emotionally that we can't explain.
Yeah.
And everybody in the metal community knows this. There's something about that collection of riffs, chords, bass line, whatever, between the drummer and the bass. There's something going on there that's hitting something that is the gateway is physical.
Yeah.
In the way that the gate to paradise would be a thing. But the gateway really isn't the thing. It's the gateway is a means to an end. And so music becomes sort of this gate between the physical and the metaphysical.
Yes.
Because on the one hand, you're using physical properties in order to create the music, which is vibrations, sound waves, etc. But if we look at music as a be-all, end-all, I think we're missing the point. I think that the crazy music is the gateway into the metaphysical world.
100%.
It is something that we're doing in the physical world that transports you somehow into the metaphysical reality that all of us are a part of, whether we want to admit it or not, or whether our worldview doesn't have the philosophy to account for it. That's what's going on when we're hearing the music. It gets inside, and it's crazy. It's one of the things I love about metal, because on the one hand, it can be extremely visceral and like inspire you to burn down your house. Metal can do that, or you can listen to like a post-rock instrumental like what we just got done listening to, and that could inspire you to pick up your guitar, or inspire you to, give a 5-year-old a rose, or whatever it is. Like, it's just crazy to me the gift that music is and how powerful it is. Especially, obviously we are more in tune to what music does for us than probably any group of consumers of music in the history of human beings. Like, I really mean that, because of our ability to communicate with each other almost instantaneously is what the music is doing to us. You see what I'm saying? Back in the day, it was like, it was 4 or 5 of them, and then you would go to listen to Mozart, then the guy would, you almost need a PhD to even understand what the guy's saying when he's reviewing Mozart stuff. Not to say that Mozart wasn't a genius, that was kind of the problem. You know what I'm saying? And so now it's at the pop level where people are able to imbibe this thing, and everybody has their own little personal narratives that these it says nostalgia over there. And it's fascinating, because nostalgia to me is very different from nostalgia to you. You see what I'm saying? Because of our life experiences and things like that.
Yeah.
Or listen to Rhapsody and you want to go out and save fair maidens and slay dragons. Yeah. That's it's crazy to me, like what music can do and what those 5 senses really are. Like, if we look at the 5 senses, this is a way to interpret reality in the physical world. And like, if you're using that as like sort of a Rosetta Stone, it kind of makes sense. But if you look at your 5 senses as gateways into deeper realities, then everything changes, I think. So you say, like, what I see is not ultimate. What I see is a gateway into what reality actually is. See what I'm saying? What I'm hearing is not ultimate, but what I'm hearing is a gateway to something else. Which we know that with words. That's why people jump off bridges if they hear a certain collection of words. Or they'll get overwhelmed with emotion and feel appreciated if they hear a certain sequence of words. And so, like, all of these things are gateways into something deeper.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when these people have, these interfaces with these aliens or whatever you call them, or whatever people want to call them, I've never actually heard them deviate from the fact that they communicated like thought to thought, like telepathically.
Yep.
Like every single one of them.
Yeah, they all say that.
Even back in the day, 200-300 years ago, they all talk about telepathic communication, and that makes a lot of sense, especially if you look at, like I said, language is a gateway to something. It is not. Language is a gateway for expressing my emotions, but it is not the emotion itself. It can't be. And there's so much that gets lost in translation when you verbalize what's going on inside of you, which is one of the reasons we need music and instrumentation in the first place. We need the instruments to help us tell this story and to communicate what's inside of us. But if you could do pure thought to pure thought, there almost wouldn't be a need for music, because as Paul says, you will know as I'm fully known or whatever. But I think it's such a crazy thing that we're caught up in. And when you see the beauty of music itself, and you know that it is necessary, that there is an intelligence behind it, and yet there's so much beauty underneath that intelligence. Because the other thing too about music is like, it's like, stop thinking, go with the vibe. And like, that's true. Like, it is true. Like, go with the vibe. Like, if you're writing that song, there's a real practical level of that doesn't match. It's not like when these guys were doing the instrumental that like it came out in one take. They had to wrestle with it. They had to go back and forth. They had to go, well, this doesn't make sense. So by the time you get to the finished product, all of that, all the cogitation has already been done for you. And now we just get to consume and enjoy it. But the people that were doing it actually applied a lot of intelligence and music theory and back and forth that went into creating that finished product. So that's the thing that's crazy to me.
When you drank that absinthe and then you just like started playing that beautiful song.
Yeah.
Were you using theory when you did that, or were you just going by vibe?
I don't know a lot of theory. So almost everything I do is by vibe. You see what I'm saying? Or like, I'll know if something matches or not, which I'll say matches or rhymes. That really doesn't work in music, but
no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but when I do that, and I was no, I didn't have any theory. I was just like, it's weird. Like sometimes, like
that was a weird, like one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah, it was weird,
but it was also weird. Weird in the sense because, like, literally, you took like one swallow of it. It wasn't even alive, and then he was like, he looked at his guitar, friggin' started playing it, and I grabbed my phone and just started recording because I'm like, I've never seen this happen. And what you were playing was even like a different style than what I've normally seen you just pick up and play. It was beautiful.
I sent it to DJ, who's actually in here.
Yeah, what do you think?
And he was, DJ is not going to give me my props. He's like, oh yeah, I'll put something on top of that, no problem. That was like a year ago. This was a year ago. He still hasn't done it. I was messaging. I said, yo, where's my part? Where's my part, bitch? No, couldn't find it. Shout out to DJ. I am mad at him. He was in the presence of greatness. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He was talking all that shit about all his Megadeth reference, things like that. So it's like, now it's time to put your money where your mouth is.
Yep.
He couldn't do it. Shout out to DJ though.
Yeah, it was just incredible. Just start to finish, like, I felt like, I mean, this is 10 minutes and 45 seconds, but I felt like I traveled to a world and came back again. Or a couple of different worlds. It was
Big homie Dan.
What a piece of art.
You can call me, I love Dan, he just doesn't care. You can call me a bigot or racist, whatever, but every single person of African or Polynesian descent are naturally musical and rhythmic, so to me it makes sense that you go with the vibe then. I mean, I don't know, like, that was a very weird experience. Like, I had a full bottle, a full thing of that, but we paid like $50 for it or something.
I don't know what we paid for it.
But I mean, it was interesting. It's a once in a lifetime thing that happened. It never happened again.
I'm so glad I started recording.
Yeah. I really,
like, like when you're like, I'm in a moment. Those things are like weird when you realize that you're in a moment when you're in the moment. Oh, what just happened? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I knew I was in a moment, so I pulled out the recorder. And I was like worried to like wreck the moment by pulling out the recorder, but it didn't seem like it affected you at all. So
Nah. I really like this song. 9.8.
I do too, though this is a 9.9.
I think Mikey Franco called this song of the night. It's probably gonna be the song of the night for me. We got one more song. We got one more song to go. But let's see. Song of the night, maybe.
We'll be right back.
We'll see you beautiful people on the other side of the break. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Wait, did you grade this? I gave it a 9.8. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 9.9.
9.9. So I gave it a 9.5. You gave it a 9.6. Now I give it a 9.8. You get the thing at 9.9. See how she is? Commercial break.
I already
right
had
back.
my score.
I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get matched down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord,
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
and they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vinand Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. It shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. We are in the midst of an alliance stream. Like we said, there's multiple ways to get your song reviewed. The alliance is my favorite one. Because you get to hang out with your homies, you guys decide on what songs to do, all that beautiful shiz.
We're gonna have some
timestamp.
We're gonna have some upcoming changes to our alliance stuff. Some things are gonna. You guys are gonna be really happy about some of these changes. They involve maybe even some movie watching. Who knows? We shall see. We shall see. No promises. No promises until Vinny announces it.
Speaking of movies, the last movie we watched was The Martian. That was such a good movie together. I think we've got...
We have another one coming up.
We've got one upcoming in a couple days. Gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
And we have a Metal Mayhem stream coming up this week.
Yeah, we got Metal Mayhem, we got movies, we got shows we're gonna be watching. It was a 7-parter.
Yeah, Midnight Mass is the name of the show.
Midnight Mass is the name of the show.
Don't give us any spoilers. Don't say a friggin' word about it. I'll block your ass. I don't want to know anything about it. And yes, I'm aware that it's partially somewhat horror, so I'm probably going to be covering my eyes for some of it. But come through, watch it with us. Don't forget your Rumble account so you can watch it with us. That is up and coming.
You know, the fascists in YouTube would shut us down. Shut them down, shut them down.
Yeah, every time. It doesn't matter. I put up a video, I'm like, okay, this one we'll be able to monetize it. They're like, nope.
Nope.
I saw...
Stay with your patrons.
They'll be like, oh, there was a random item in the background. Oh, advertisers won't do it now.
Yep. Old bastards.
All right. Karlahan, the Lighthouse Keeper, is the name of the band and the song. This is the Epic Underground, the alliances, as you know. You can join an alliance by joining on Patreon as little as $1 per month. And then you jump into an alliance and you guys pick our songs. So this is a song that they have picked. Let's see what they have to say. Archero comes with a message. We have a long-standing tradition in the Epic Underground. It's so funny. Anytime it's Archero, I literally can hear his voice as I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Because of the March Madness things, right? We have a long-standing tradition in the Epic Underground of awarding epics, where a member of the Alliance is chosen at random. They create their own playlist of anywhere from 15 to 30 songs, and the Alliance votes on which of the songs to submit for a reaction. This time, the honor fell to Archero again. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, what the hell? How's he doing this?
This time, the honor fell to Folly, or Folly, or Folly.
Fly. Like fly.
Fly.
It's fly. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
fly.
go fly.
Yes,
This is from Fly.
Fly. The winner from his list is the Spanish melodic death metal band Karlahan. Their song, The Lighthouse Keeper, comes from their only full-length album released in 2015.
Okay, this should be interesting.
Here's the lyrics.
Here goes
Don't be misinformed.
Don't be misinformed.
This is what they're going to be
dear
singing about.
listener. This is what they're singing about.
Let's go.
All right, guys, here we go. This is
Anytime I say something,
Fly's
Dave,
pick.
and you copy what I say, I think it's so cute because literally the entire time I've known you, the only thing I've ever seen is you like going out in original whatever, and then bunches of people mobbing on and copying everything that you do. So whenever you copy me, I always think it's very cute, and I feel honored. The honor.
The
is
Lighthouse. Is it the Lighthouse Keeper? Is that
It
right?
is called The Lighthouse Keeper.
All right, here we go, bitches. Sounds ominous.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That. What an incredible piece of art. What unbelievable. That was majestic. It was epic. It like told like 100 stories within one. I'm blown away. And it sounded like we had an entire orchestra. Like there was so much. You know what it reminded me of?
Choir. Reminded me of Devin Townsend.
That too. But it reminded me. Remember when Vinny, for Vinny's birthday, he got tickets for us to go to see The Thorn. I don't know if it's called just Thorn or The Thorn. And it was like such a great performance. It was really, really great. Well, the only thing that was kind of meh was the music. This would have fit in that, right?
100%. 100. They could have even used the death vocals too for that.
That's what I'm saying.
That devil character.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, just
devil
incredible.
Character. He did a really good job.
So, man, I mean, I think what I took from this song was different than what the song conveys. But what did you get from it?
Well, tell me what you took from the song.
Well, each verse piece, each little stanza was different to me. So once again, up at the top of this lighthouse, marveled at the architect's creation. So I pictured, I've always done this where I like to go outside and like be under the stars and just like stop and just marvel at it. So he's on the top of a lighthouse, and when he says marveled at the architect's creation, I don't know literally if he's talking about the lighthouse itself and how it's able to project out into the water like that. For me, it was like the architect's creation and the architect being God, and all that he made is you're looking out over this vast ocean, and you're the only person with a light strong enough to even be able to light up that area. It says the sea remains dark and grand, and I blindly light his plans. So I'm guessing that he's talking about he lights the way for the ship. But again, when I was reading that, I was like looking at it like, you know, if you were in fact sitting on the top of this lighthouse or at the top of it, and you were just looking out at the ocean and just thinking about like the architect and God, how he made all that stuff. But he says, but what if I could carry the light wherever I wish? And that reminded me of the teachings of Jesus. And he talks about, you know, him being the light of the world. And then he talks about us, that we have that and we carry that light in us. So when it says, what if I could carry the light wherever I wish? Would it be worth following that way? So that to me was like following the way of God and following the way of Christ, which brings you in the way of light and lets it so that way you can bring light to other people. Then he says, for the first time, the sea I'm staring at comes as clear as daylight. The fog is gone. So here I am reborn at the top of this lighthouse, and now I light my own path in which I believe. So he's talking about his own path in which he believes. But again, for me, I just revamped the whole thing. And when he's talking about being reborn at the top of the lighthouse, like he was asking the question, like, what if I could carry this light wherever I go? Would it be worth following that way? And so at the end, I got to the conclusion that he does. Like, things become clear as daylight to him. The fog is gone, and he suddenly recognizes where he's going to go. And at that point, he's reborn. But then he talks about a light of his own path in which he believes. But the song itself kept making me think of like heaven, and how like I always picture like heaven as like this hallway with a bunch of different rooms, and because I picture that there's obviously like different parts of heaven, and one of the places is like this music place, and there's all these rooms, and the rooms are actually worlds, but when you go into each world, it's the different types of music that we've had throughout time and throughout history, and you know, all the different genres and stuff. I always think I'd be able to find the room that you were in. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so I was thinking about that, and I think because I grew up in such a rigid religious household where music was demonized in some contexts, you know, especially this type of music that we listen to on the channel, it just makes me realize, like, I don't think that you can like box God in with a certain type of music and say only these notes are okay, or only these sounds on the guitar are okay. I think that music is a platform, and it's a way for us to like reach to each other and share things within each other, and I don't know, like we talked about in the previous song, like it reaches to deeper parts of ourselves, and just like hearing this song, I don't know, it just had such a depth to it. I just enjoy the entire thing. What about you? What did you get from it?
Yeah, like I said, it reminded me of Devin Townsend, you know.
Oh,
like,
I did finish. I'm sorry. I pictured it to be like worship in heaven. That's what I pictured, like, because you had the death vocals, but it had like that like rising action sort of sound to it, and like the worship sound to it. But yeah, Devin Townsend for sure.
Yeah, it definitely like had that kind of vibe to it, but it also had that like choir, you know, where you said like some sort of heavenly choir type of thing. But it's the lyrics are really kind of straightforward to me. Once again, up at the top of this lighthouse, marveled at the architect's creation. I do think it's one of those things where I don't really understand the posture of saying I am no longer, I don't believe in God because that's childish. It's strange to me, like that kind of mentality. But now, you know, when I listen to these guys, one of the things that you argue about is, okay, what is your basis for morality? Okay, you don't, you know, we brought this up before. If you don't believe there's a God, there's no ultimate lawgiver, then reality, you know, morality is subjective, blah, blah. And like that's obvious to me. It's pretty obvious. It's plain as day. But the concept of beauty as an objective criterion, which necessitates another intelligence, I think is a little bit more complex. But the thing about beauty is that, on the one hand, people say it's in the eye of the beholder, and yet there's another side of beauty which is almost universal. So, for example, if you listen to, like, you didn't like the Mozart song, you gave it a -50 because you didn't like it, right? But could you tell objectively why people would say this is a beautiful piece of music, right? Like, so you're not saying this is bad music.
No,
what
I'm
you're
just saying
is
it has a negative effect on me.
doing something to me.
Yeah, that I don't like.
At the metaphysical level that I don't like, can't necessarily explain.
Right.
But you're not saying, oh, it's not beautiful. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Like, I've never seen.
No. Yeah.
You know, that Kirk Hammett solo in Fade to Black. I've never heard anybody go, that's not really an emotive. Like,
yeah.
These things are also, in my view, objective. You know, obviously Thomas Aquinas, same idea. Truth, beauty, and goodness. Like, I just think that beauty itself is another marker of the fact that there's a higher intelligence happening somehow. Because when you look at a song like this and look what he's saying, I mean, there's really two acts to this play. He's up in the lighthouse and he marvels at the architect's creation. The sea remains dark and grand, and I blindly light his plans. So he's kind of just out there experiencing life and then taking part in it. But what if I could carry the light wherever I wished? Would it be worth following that way? Which is to say, if you take something from its sacred space, does it still remain sacred? So this is a very big question that the Israelites had, because at the time, the temple was a meeting place between God and man.
Right.
Okay? And then God shows up and says, yeah, you guys are about to go into exile. And that's one of the reasons why Ezekiel sees this UFO in chapter 1. He sees this UFO in chapter 1 because it's basically saying that God's throne room is mobile. So even though, and you see in the book of Ezekiel, he raises up above the temple, and then he leaves the temple, and then he's like, I'm out of here. Yeah. So the presence of, like, there's a physicalized sort of manifestation. Looks like a UFO. I'm sorry, go read it. Ezekiel chapter 1. He's right there by the bank of the, whatever. But, like, the thing gets up and it leaves. And the idea is because, you know, you guys have so corrupted the temple that God has to get out of here. And on top of that, you guys are getting exiled anyway. And so now you've got the mobile throne room, which basically communicates that there's going to be some kind of temple even in your exile. That's the idea. And so, like, he's saying he's having this epiphany, and then he says, what if I could carry the light wherever I wished? Because the lighthouse stands for you know, the genius of creation or participating in creation or whatever, because he's staying at the top of the lighthouse. That's where he marvels at the creator's creation, and then he takes part in it by, I blindly light his plans, because you're assuming that he's operating the lighthouse over this water, because God has a dominion over the sea. And so his idea is he's going to shine this light on the sea to give people safety, but that's ultimately God's decision on whether or not the ship's going to go underwater or whatever. But the point is, like, if you carry the light wherever you wish, would it be worth following that way? In other words, does the sacred nature of this moment, is it only for this moment because he's having some epiphany, or is it something he can carry into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? But if you do that, does it then lose some of the awesomeness of the fact that it was a sacred moment? Because if you do something sacred over and over again, people get used to it. It's the idea. And so, like, that's a very important part where the temple, where God's throne is leaving, and the people in Ezekiel then have to figure out how to still fellowship with God even though the sacred space is gone. And I think that's one of the tough things about sacred spaces, is that you have this very significant moment with God, and you want to keep going back there, but it's kind of like it gets kind of diluted after a while. And I think that's kind of what he's saying. He's like, but what if I could carry the light wherever I wish? Would it be worth following? Right? So it's like, if you can make that sacred space mobile, is it sacred? If you can go anywhere and have it be your sacred space, then is it really that sacred? And I think obviously the biblical answer is yes, because the point of the temple is not the structure. The point of the temple is meeting with God, in the same way that the point of a home is not necessarily the structure of the house, but home is where the people who love each other are together. So he's got this epiphany the next time he's up on there. For the first time, this sea I'm staring at comes as clear as daylight. The fog is gone. And I think the clarity comes from the fact that there's some sort of connection to the architect, because it talks about the architect at the top. And when he has his second revelation, the architect isn't there anymore. For the first time, this sea I'm staring at comes clear as daylight. The fog is gone. So here I am, reborn at the top of this lighthouse, and I light my own path in which I believe. And so it kind of comes full circle, because now he has some sort of faith, because it says, now I light my own path in which I believe. So there's a sense in which he's believing, maybe in his own mind, in his ability to, guide himself through whatever. But the lighthouse is important because it creates that structure so that your ship doesn't crash. Like, that's the idea, is like, you're on these waters and it's dark and all the rest of it, and it's cool. Like, you're on this boat, man, and then the architect is there to protect you, essentially, from the wildness of God's creation. It creates a certain kind of light so you know where you're going. And I think he's saying, I need that for my life. Like, we need somebody with a higher vantage point, right? Because that's what it's crazy, because you could be an expert, like, oceanographer. I don't know what you call those people that, like, know how to get from A to B on the sea. But you could be an expert, but you still have to rely on that lighthouse. You see what I'm saying? And that's crazy to me. It's like, you could be at the top of your game relative to that, art form or whatever, but you still need somebody from a higher vantage point that can shed light on the situation and get you to know where you're going. And so the lighthouse metaphor is really crazy, because, like, you have somebody on a higher vantage point that can see the whole, sea from beginning to end, and show you where the rocks are and all the rest of it. And so you can look at it as, like, it's not the 10 Commandments, it's not the 10 suggestions, it's the 10 Commandments. You can look at God's rules as, like, I'm going to make your life, that horrible. Or you can look at God's rules as, maybe that dude is on a higher vantage point than us, and maybe he sees things that we don't see underwater.
That's right.
And a lot of like parenting is keeping your child away from lessons that they need to learn through pain. In other words, if you tell a kid, hey, listen, if you jump off that thing, you're really going to fuck up your knee. I never used to believe it. I never thought that any of my bones could break. I would jump from the highest place possible and jump down, you know what I'm saying? Because that was my mindset at the time. So, like, all of us need somebody that's been a little bit higher, has a more vantage point, and can see all the, has a light to see. So what ends up happening is somebody tells us, like, hey, you got this personality flaw. Okay. In reality, what they're doing is they're showing you, look, here's your boat, here's this rock, you guys are coming into it. You got to change course. That guy who's saying you have to change course automatically gets looked upon as a killjoy. He's this, he's that, right? But the older you get, the more you realize that, that's what I tell the boys all the time. The devil plays for keeps, man. Like, you're going to wake up one day and be like, holy shit, this is a wreck. And like, look at your life. I think you might need somebody above you with a little bit more light to show you that stuff. So, like, that's a lot of parenting, is saving your kids from a lot of disasters on the rocks. But because you saved them from it, they don't know that they're saved from it.
That's 100% true.
They don't. So like, you don't know what you're being saved from. It's not until you yourself become a parent and adult where you realize, holy shit, that's what they were doing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a very, very interesting song, because he kind of comes to the conclusion, and at the end, it's like, yeah, you are reborn at the top of the lighthouse. Like that experience gave him, the impetus to think about bigger, larger issues. I thought that was
but it
crazy.
almost seems like he's saying, the sea remained dark and grand, and I blindly light his plans. It almost seems like what he's doing, he's doing something, but he's not completely committed to it. And then he sort of goes through like this moment of realization, and then at the end he says, I'm reborn here at the top of the lighthouse, and now I light my own path in which I believe. So it almost seems like he came to a realization away from the architect's creator, and that he's gonna light his own path, because before he was blindly lighting like his plans.
I'm not seeing where the half-hearted comes in.
Half-hearted?
Well, you said he was kind of half-heartedly doing it, the other guy's plans.
I don't remember saying half-heartedly, but what I mean was, he said, I blindly light his plans, as in, so what he's doing, he's not completely committed into what he's doing. He's blindly lighting his plans. How can you blindly light somebody else's plans? I mean, you need to see to light somebody else's plans. But he's saying, it almost sounds like it's not completely a part of him. Like, maybe it's his parents' religion, maybe it's his parents' whatever, I don't know.
I just took that as he's doing something, but he doesn't know why he's doing it. I didn't take that as like not being completely committed.
So
to me, if a blind person's doing something, they're very committed.
And now I light my own path?
I think I took the term blindly as, I'm just doing these things, I'm lighting the path or whatever, but I don't know the ultimate reason why I'm doing it. Like, there's something about the significance of that he doesn't see, that he then sees later on. But I didn't take that as like him doing it half-heartedly. I just took it as he doesn't know why he's doing it. Because he blindly lights his plans. It's like, why am I doing this? Which really, I was watching this thing yesterday, and it was a near-death experience thing.
Yep.
And it was this lady, she was a teacher, really bad stuff happened, she died, and it was this big miraculous, like, she had to go back, she got told, this is not your time, she got zoomed back into her body, she woke up, blah, it's a big miracle. And I just remember, like, looking at that and being like, yeah, but she looks like she's 75. I'm like, that lady's gonna die probably another 5. She's probably dead right now. So it was this weird thing. I was listening to Schopenhauer, and I'm glad. I'm not gonna tell you guys the title of the video, but it was like one of the most depressing philosophies ever with this guy, with this dude. But it was interesting. I was just sitting, and people talk about this, like, why was Jesus crying at the tomb of Lazarus, that type of thing. Like, it is a crazy, crazy notion that all of us are just like, yep, we're gonna die, we know we're gonna die. And so it's like, this woman, like, she got saved from this near-death experience, but I was just looking at her like, yeah, but you're gonna die again, bro. So it's like, it's this inevitable thing. And if you don't have some sort of metaphysical context to add meaning to your life, forget about it, man. It's a pretty crazy way to exist. My brother got his jaw broken playing rugby.
I mean, for me, like, I think that the bigger thing is, and maybe it's something that, the older that you get, the more you're like, oh, That's a real thing. Like, eventually I will die and nobody is gonna go with me. Like, you're alone. There's no, and all these people keep saying the same things. A lot of them keep saying, like, I tried to think of something good that I had done in my life that I could basically offer up to this God, or offer up to this light or whatever,
Yeah.
And they couldn't think of anything. That's because God's measuring stick for what's good and our measuring stick for what's good are not the same. And what we believe to be bad and how God sees bad that's not the same either. Like, we're a lot, probably the way that we judge other people, and Jesus said, like, the same way that you judge other people, that measurement's going to come back on yourself. But I don't know, it's just the idea that we're all going to die, and that when we die, we don't know how it's going to happen, and you don't know how much pain there's going to be, or lack of pain, or whatever that scene is going to look like. But that's going to be a pretty terrifying thought for a lot of people, because if you don't have your eternal state sort of like set in your mind, I've said it a bunch of times, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I do know one thing for sure. One thing for sure is the shepherd of my soul is going to come get me. So when I make that crossover, it makes me emotional, because I'm like, wow, like, what an amazing, and I believe that with everything in me. Like, I believe that more than I believe that Vinny is sitting here beside me. Like, I know Jesus is going to come for me when I go. And like, I can't, not having that assurance and that belief and that knowledge, like, that knowledge lights your path. Like, it's something different. You read John 17 and Jesus is praying for us. That's so crazy. Like, he prayed for us all that time ago, and here we are. And I don't know, it's wild. It's just wild. But yeah, I look forward to, I'm grateful for the time that I have here. I mean, Paul said, I'd like to go, but if it's better I stay, I'll stay. And like, I understand that, like, there's a part of us that's always like, you know what, I think I'm ready. But then there's a party that's like, nope, as long as God has me here, I'm gonna do my thing. But I do know that I went through a span of time where my faith was very small, and I really wasn't sure, like, if I die, what's gonna happen? And that was a pretty scary period of time for me, because I'd always had such a strong belief, and like, I hit that point where it was a crazy time. So, now that I've come back full circle on it, and my faith is stronger now than it was before, and now I'm like, for sure, Jesus is coming, and I look forward to seeing him. But as long as I'm here, I'm here. So.
Yeah, and to DJ's point, we're not all going to be around here forever. Y'all better figure this shit out.
Yeah.
You think you were just here to spin around 70, 75 times? That's it.
Express
Work,
yourself.
do your 9 to 5, sleep. That's it. This is the sum total of your life. I don't think anybody really believes that. I really like this song. What a unique song. This song is in the runnings for Song of the Year for me. Like, it's that impactful. It just, it's very, Devin Townsend was the first like major chord guy that like just over the top, like inspirational sounding stuff that's almost like too you know what I'm saying? It's like
almost too inspirational.
Yeah, but
you would say something like that.
But I'm just saying, like, for metal, the aesthetic, we're all black and dour and all.
Yeah,
but then it's like,
was surprised.
Hey, and it's like this chorus, and hey, you too can fly. You know what I'm saying?
Surprised,
like, it's just something that like catches you completely off guard. And it was weird, like the death vocals. Like sometimes when I hear shit like this, I'm like, damn, if only you could just put some sweet in there.
Yeah.
But like, it still worked with these death vocals. The death vocals
but
still
they also
worked.
had some sweet in there.
They
too.
did.
Like,
They had a really good good take on it. My biggest fear relative to death is being away from my kids.
See, that used to really like fuck with me. I'm not gonna lie. And like the idea of like not, but then now that I've been hearing all of these near-death experiences stuff, I'm like, really, I feel bad for the kids because they have to live this reality without, whoever's not here. But all of these near-death experiences, people are like, even the ones that are like, one lady chose to go back because she saw like her daughter, and she saw how difficult it was going to be for her daughter because the daughter had already experienced losses. But she almost looked like she resented the situation when
100%.
she got back.
100%.
And they all say the same thing, that like they see the people crying, they're like, that's, you know, they
Terrible.
feel bad, that's too bad, but I don't want to go back. Like, it almost seems like that the person realizes that everything about this life was not as serious as they were making it, and that at the end we're all getting funneled to the same place, more or less.
Because of Jesus.
Because of Jesus, yeah. So it's just interesting to see people's. So when I come from that side of it, I'm like, okay, once I die, I am not gonna care what happens to the family. I'm not. I'm gonna be gone somewhere else. And then I think to myself, okay, this is how I qualified it. Is so we have one of our kids is off doing political stuff, and that's been a little bit of a journey for me. Like I don't like. I'm like one of those like kind of like crazy moms a little bit. Like I got them all. They all had like their separate like debit cards that they could use, but I get notifications when they use it. Now I liked getting those notifications because it gives me tabs on where they are. Oh, okay, they're at the 7-Eleven. Okay, they're over here. Well, he's 18, he's gone, and like making that transition of like, okay, you don't know everything that's going on with the kid, you know, like he's making his way in the world, like that transition has not been very easy for me, and it's had other complications along with it. Well, shit, where was I going with this story?
Letting go of your kids.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was just like, so I had that situation, and then I had another situation with one of our other kids. And then there's, you know what I mean? Like you're looking at all the different stuff, and then at the end of the day, like whether it's this one or this one or this one, I was like, and then I thought to myself, with all these kids we have, like somebody's gonna get injured. There's gonna be an injury coming up soon. Like how is this, you know, we're gonna be in the hospital, probably the ER, what's happening? But then I thought to myself, okay, at the end of the day, God is in charge of all of these kids. So whatever day he has picked for them, he has picked for them, and I can't do anything to change that date or that time. So that means if they happen to be at the park with one of their siblings and something goes sideways and somebody doesn't make it home, like God still picked that day, even though, you know what I mean? Like, so just using that, like having that understanding that God's the one that's ultimately in control of it all, and that these kids are more important to God than they are to me, then, you know, just kind of like leave it there. So that's what I think about. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to be off in a better place, and I'm not going to care about what's happening here, and still God is in charge to make sure that these kids make it okay. So,
I do kind of have that feeling as well. Like,
you're kidding.
Yeah.
Wait,
like,
in which regard?
No, the whole, when we get over there, we're going to be like, man, that shit wasn't really that.
100%, that's what I think about.
We're going to be like, nah.
Because this is what I think about. When I was 16 and I just could not wait to get married, that was like dragged out. I literally felt like my life was ending because I'm like, I haven't met the person, I'm not married, like I want to be in love, like love was my big focus. And then like eventually, you know, I found Vinny. Eventually my path crossed his. I don't even think about all that time I spent crying about not having here because you're here now. And then sometimes I think, wow, that was such a long span of time. I was so miserable, like just waiting for, you know, because, you know, like you always say, relationships are hard. I know they are. Believe me, they are. But at the same time, like there's no, you're my person. I know I was married previously. I feel bad for the poor chap, but you're my person. Like no matter what happens in this life or whatever, like, you know how people always, you'll meet these people and they'll be like, oh, there was this one person. They were mine. That's you for me. Yeah. So, you know, anyway, long story short, I just...
Sori's path of innocent, harmless race mixing. Shout out to Basilius.
Shout out to you.
He's been Twitter stalking me every post I've been. He's like, yeah, you fell for that, you idiot! You let the Zionist trick you! Everything is a Zionist conspiracy with Basilius. Oh, God. Yeah, like, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of shit I will never say publicly. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the shit that we think is like massively significant, like it's like Siskel and Ebert, you know, this they used to, for all you millennials out there, they used to judge movies. So they'd put a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if you did a really good movie, then they both give you a thumbs up. So it's 2 thumbs up. And literally, before Rotten Tomatoes, that was the system. whatever Siskel Ebert said, that's what you did. So it was very rare that you got 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert.
No
They were
kidding.
really, really tough. So when you got 2 thumbs up, it was a big deal. And so he was dying. I think it was Ebert was dying. It was Gene Siskel and Robert Ebert, I think. And Ebert was dying, and he had this wife, obviously, and he would go in and out of consciousness. And one time they thought he died, and he looked at he woke up, and he looked at his wife, and he said, "All of this is an elaborate hoax." That's what he said to her. And then, like, he died, like, the next day or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Steve Jobs' last words were, "It's so beautiful," or something like that. So, like, when you get over there, and obviously we've been studying the NDE stuff. There's that familiarity, you know, there's that home feeling, like they don't, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So as a Christian, it's like, yeah, like I'm over a lot of that shit. Like, I feel like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff.
My grandmother, who passed away, like, I don't know, was it last year?
Yeah.
She had, like, some weird experience at the end where, like, she said that somebody came to her room and she was talking with them. Nobody was there. Nobody from the physical world was there. And they were telling her it was time for her to go. And she said, no. She said, I'm not ready to go yet. I got to talk to my girls. And then they said, all right, I'll come back next week. Remember this?
You never told me this.
Oh, you never heard about this?
I would have remembered. Nah, I'm very interested. Go ahead.
Basically said...
Is the one we went to the funeral for?
Yeah. Basically said, we'll come back next week. And she basically died almost like a week later to that, whatever. And she got a chance to, you know, be around her daughters. But it was kind of interesting, you know what I mean? Like... And I think it came in the form of somebody that had already passed. I can't really remember. No, my mother told me the story, but there was a lot going on. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those stories. No, I'm gonna watch that right after this.
I think my uncle or my grandmother
DJ said,
heard
"Have you ever seen
music.
that one hospice nurse's YouTube channel? A lot of interesting stories."
Oh
no.
my gosh.
What's the channel name?
Yeah.
Because that's what we're into right now, is a lot of this near death stuff. So, yeah. It's the stories are pretty unique, but that's interesting. Like, somebody showed up and said you have to go.
It was time for her to go.
Did you see her talking to this person? Were
no,
you there?
I wasn't there. There. They told me
so
about
your mom
it.
Dukes?
Or her sister. I'm not sure which one.
That's
was
crazy.
There. But she had said, I think she started talking while they were sitting in the room, and she was talking to the person, and they were like, "Who's talking?" I can't remember now. We'd have to ask her to get the details.
She said it's time to go.
But they were telling her it was time to go. I think she said that they came in a top hat. And then she was like, she said, no, I can't leave yet. I gotta talk to my girls. And
she didn't know who she was talking to?
No, I think that it was somebody that had died before her.
Hospice nurse Julie. All right, I'm gonna be checking out right after that. Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff. The one I was listening to just before we got on this show was the bad ones, because people go to hell.
Guys, that's no friggin' joke, man. It's really that concept to me, like when those people describe how, like, one guy, he was like, you know what? He basically had come to terms with who he was as a person, and he was like, basically, it's gonna have to sort itself out. God's gonna have to figure it out on the other side. And then he had this near-death experience, and it was friggin' torment, and he realized that all of his justifications that he made for himself in this life didn't work in that one. There was nothing. It was literally, like, black and white. It was that simple. It was crazy.
Well, you were talking about that. I don't know if we even want to go hit that mute button. Okay, so
I'll give the full story at some point.
Yeah. Sori has a lot of spiritual sensitivity. Say it that way.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's one particular situation where it was like, a typical everyday type of situation, something that you would just think is normal. Not necessarily the best thing in the world, but just something that you think is normal. And you were basically saying that there were malevolent beings who were basically feasting off of that. Like, I don't know how you put it, but
yeah.
they were.
They liked it. They enjoyed it. It's like, similar to like when kids will put two bugs in a cage and want them to fight.
Yeah.
And get enjoyment off of watching. Oh, they're attacking each other. It was like that, but it was other beings that loved the conflict between people. And when we talk about, like these people that have, experiences with aliens or whatever interdimensional beings, whatever you want to call it, and they talk about, speaking telepathically, and that there's thoughts that all of a sudden they just know something based on being in the vicinity of these things, it just makes you wonder because, you just think simply like in a marriage, like, every time you live every single day, especially us, like we literally do everything together. When you stop and think about it, it is a significant amount of time that we spend around each other. And obviously in that amount of time, you're going to say things that, probably wasn't the best. I've said things, you've said things. And sometimes I'll notice like, well, hold on a minute. Why am I thinking about that thing right now? A particular phrase that you've said. All of a sudden it starts rolling in my head over and over and over, clear as anything, like it just happened yesterday. And I'm like, and I've been stopping to say, why is that coming up now? What is that connected to? And sometimes it's literally not connected to anything that I can find in the moments that I'm living right then. So then I'm like, okay, then where'd that thought come from? And when you talk about these other beings or whatever that are influencing the thoughts of people when they get within the vicinity, it just kind of makes you wonder. And like I said, like I had that experience where, and maybe someday I'll tell the full story because it's a pretty wild experience. But that particular part,
the way it is now, people would be like rushing to use that vehicle to make it happen. You see what I'm saying? Because it's interesting because, like I said, this is probably more appropriate for a fireside. But like I said, like we've talked for years about dark intelligences or malevolent, beings. People always say like, have you ever, and no, it does not happen like, but recently, there was clear situation where we're dealing with, and it's like, for me, it's like, on the one hand, it sounds crazy, but then I'm like, on the other hand, if a bunch of guys in a white lab coat got on TV and said that it was real, millions of people would just believe it. Like, look at all the shit that people believe uncritically because the experts say it. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like one of the things I kind of discovered around COVID, which was very interesting, where they said people of this generation don't trust the media at all. But they won't believe something unless they see it in the mainstream media at the same time. Like, it was weird. Like, and so it's like, I know, like, the experiences that we've had, and I know that they're real. And what I'm saying is, they would all my atheist secularist friends would also believe it was real, were it couched in certain kinds of language, right? So you say, "Oh, I didn't see an alien, I saw a UFO. I mean, I didn't see an angel, I saw a UFO." Blah 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 blah. But yeah, we've interacted with those beings. Thankfully, I can count them with one hand. But when it happens, it's undeniable for sure, and the atmosphere changes. Like it's pretty crazy.
I guess for me, I feel like that we actually have interactions with those type of beings on the regular. It's just sometimes they're more extreme and noticeable. Like I said before, like sometimes the thoughts that just kind of come into your head, if you stop and say, well, what, you know what I mean? Like let's say in your past, somebody used to stomp on your foot, like on the regular, like just out of hatred. And they told you, I hate you every time that they did it. And then all of a sudden, like on a random day you step on my foot and then like I'm remembering how the person used to do that and say that. Okay, well that makes sense why that thought came into your head at that point. But if there's nothing in your regular life that is connecting to that bad memory or that whatever, like, that's making you feel negative, I do think that the question should be asked, where did that thought originate then if you can't connect it? Because usually whenever we have something, it's connected to something. It has its genesis somewhere. But this, where did it come from?
Like, we use the term subconscious now, and everybody kind of accepts the concept of a subconscious. But when that idea was first broached, people were laughing at you. Oh, really? You have a consciousness underneath your consciousness? Tell us what it's doing. And really, I've always said, that's like one of the freakiest things of all time, the whole concept of a subconscious. The way people talk about your brain, they talk about your brain as if it's like its own independent, autonomous, self-existent being that is basically telling you what to do. You see what I'm saying? Like the brain, like it's not even like the way these people talk about it. It's like you're not even responsible for the things you do. It's just your brain. So it's like, we can't really say Hitler's that bad of a guy. He had a bad brain. Like that's kind of, but in the real world, we don't talk that way. We all know that, yeah, his brain had something to do with it, but there was a deeper executive ego that was driving all that shit that did not need to listen to all of those, you know, because there's lots of times when people just say brain because they need a physical outlet. How the brain does all this stuff, we don't know. How does this physical thing create metaphysical ideas? We don't know.
And again, in those near-death experiences, remember, these people, their heart stops. Otherwise, you can't go that amount of time without oxygen to your brain. You would be brain dead.
Yeah, and there's no electrical function in their brains.
There's nothing happening.
Right.
And they're, they've flatlined. There's no movement anywhere. And then they're having these out-of-body experiences floating up. And all of them have, I guess the way that they legitimize it is the person that has the near-death experience has to tell them something that they wouldn't otherwise know. So, like this one lady, she had this super healthy uncle, and he was stressing out or whatever, so he was like getting a Snickers from the machine. So as she left her body and she came out, she was like, yo, he's getting a Snickers, and she watched him get the Snickers and watched it drink. She was like, he must have some secret
the craziest one I had, it was in a book, was this woman talked about Rojo Zapata, these red shoes at the top of at the top of the hospital building, like in a corner somewhere. Because she was saying when she was going up, she was going through the walls and everything, and she saw these shoes. So when she came back down, they went up there, and it was exactly where it said. Like this NDE stuff, like it's people. I was setting up a debate one time with an atheist, and I shouldn't have done it, but he was saying, because we were going after materialism. So you don't really get a lot of people that actually want to defend materialism. They just assume materialism. So when you challenge them and you say validate, because they're used to saying, I don't have the burden of proof, you have the burden of proof, right? So if you say, okay, cool, justify materialism. Now you have the burden of proof to justify materialism, and I haven't been able to get a debate partner. So if you know somebody that would like to debate on the virtues of materialism versus consciousness as the fundamental reality, then send them my way. But anyway, long story short, he basically admitted, well, there's no way I can actually prove that material actually is fundamental. But he said, if it's not, then everything turns into nonsense. I'm like, how is that an argument? What do you mean it turns into nonsense if everything isn't material? But anyway, really, really interesting song.
That's because he didn't understand how it could be something other.
Oh, correct. And there's no way for it, because the minute that you say consciousness is fundamental, and that materialism is not, then you've conceded God.
Yeah.
Because whatever you call that original consciousness, that consciousness is what generated this simulation that we're in. So I don't care what you call that being, that's God. Period. End of story. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting thing. Like that side of the world is real, man. It's a real thing, and it appears to me that they're becoming more and more. They're going to become a lot more native to our existence in the next 5 to 7 years. You heard it here first.
Oh, I completely agree with you. I even think that that's part of the reason why we've had some of the experiences that we've had over the past year. Because I think that there's a certain level of strength and awareness that people have to have when that stuff pops off. And, you know.
Yeah, and you're starting to see, like, people in the mainstream starting to really deal with the spiritual ramifications of all the stuff that we're caught up in. But, yeah.
But, I mean, I don't believe that there's anything that goes on that wasn't directly directed by God and the Creator. So, you know, you're sitting here in this stream, you're hearing this, whether it's when this is live or whether this is afterwards. But everybody has a lifetime that's filled with choices and decisions. And this is another point of decision. You know, like what it is that you want. What type of future are you looking for? What type of spiritual experiences is it that you want? Do you want the King of the universe, Jesus Christ, who literally died to make it so that way we could make our way back to the Father? You want to entrust yourself to him? Or you want to just say, you know, I'm going to wing it. And I'm going to hope that my good outweighs my bad. And hopefully that's the right answer. And you know what I mean?
Thankfully, for people like me, I've never thought to myself, yeah, my good will outweigh my bad. that was never a thought in my mind. Holy smokes.
I literally thought I was barely bad. I used to be like, that is such a great verse for those people. Oh my word.
Oh my gosh.
I've come a long way.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, thank you, God, for this verse. Thank you so much.
9.5. This is a kind of a long one.
9.9 for me.
There you go, dear listener. We will see you, beautiful people. I think what we got. We got a movie tomorrow. What do we got? What's on the calendar?
Let me just pull that up. I have my Trello
I think
board.
we've got a couple spots for movies open in May still. So if you want a movie in May, send an email to Soraya or me, VinandSori@gmail.com. We'll see if we can sneak you in. We got the 30th is jammed, but if anybody has any movies they want to see between now and then, let us know.
All right, so what we have right now, we have, I'm not sure if Franco was talking about pulling up on the next 2 days. Then we have on the 30th, we have the Metal Mayhem Mega Stream with DJ Nick starting at 9:30 p.m.
Oh, I thought that was a movie.
No.
Okay. That's the DJ Nick Metal Mayhem stream. Good.
Yep.
And we're also taking, we're filling up slots for June as well for movies and such. Check it out. All right, guys.
Yes, that list is already building. And then I'll post it to Patreon as usual. So you guys can know what's coming up.
There you are, dear listener. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.